Welcome back, Gaui Nation. We're going to do one more video on the base stock build kit on the Gaui NEX6. We're going to go over steps 6 and 7. I've actually already done these. I didn't feel there was a need to take it back apart to show you guys because it's some pretty basic stuff you're doing in these steps. As you can see, I've kind of continued on getting some of the electronics and such put in. Sorry about the jiggle on your screen there, guys. I kind of bumped the tripod. So let me get this canopy off and I'll kind of go over a few things and let you guys kind of see what the final 6S setup is, minus the motor, because I don't have a 6S motor. For this step, you're going to need some miscellaneous tools, probably some more that I'm not even going to include here. I'm going to need a 7mm nut driver. That's for your blade grip bolts on the bottom side to hold those while you turn them with the 3mm hex driver. You also need a 2mm hex drive, and you'll likely need either a different size hex driver or a Phillips screw for the attachment screws for the servo horns into your servos. So that's going to depend on what brand of servos you use and things along that line. So in this step 6, you're attaching your servos to the chassis. You're using 2.6 by 10 mil bolts in the carbon fiber, I'm going to call them covers, spacers, behind that to hold your servos into the frame section. So you got 3 cyclic servos and a rudder servo for your 6S setup. Now once we do the nitro conversion, we'll have another throttle servo up here. I'm kind of leaving my wiring dangling right this second, so don't think that that's the final wiring. It's not, because in the nitro conversion, I believe this rudder servo actually comes up to the other side of the frame at the front, with a bell horn to get it back inside the frame. So I'm waiting to do that. So install your servos. You'll have to go through your setup on your flybar list to make sure your servo horns are centered on your servos prior to installing them. It's really a pain to get the servo horns off on this style head. So little note to yourselves, do your centering of your servo horns prior to installing the servos on the airframe. The rudder's not bad, but the 3 cyclic servos are almost, well, the 2 front ones are near impossible. The third, the rear, your elevator servo is not too bad to do in the frame, but these front 2, near impossible. Kit does not come with the balls for your servo arms. You will need those. Those are separate. So make sure to go with those. Now, as far as spacing, I haven't flown this yet. I'm going off the pictures that are here and using, this is actually appears to be true to size servo horn. It actually matched up with what I used. Another tool if you're building helicopters you haven't done in a while, pair of micrometers. You don't need an expensive set, you just got to get close. So let's get a rough guesstimate on our distance here. This is where I got mine set. So roughly center to center, I'm going to call it, I'm actually measuring about 16.2, so we'll call it 16 mil. What happens if we go up to 17? Is that too far? Yeah, 17 is too far. So why don't we call it 16 millimeter, center to center on your spacing from center of the bolt to the center of the ball stud, which is where I'm starting. Again, you want to lock tight the bolts holding the servos in. Those are going into metal. Don't have to kill them, don't have to crank them down. You've got 2 45 mil control rods and 3, it actually says 2 here, but you have 3 of your servo control rods that you have to build. I haven't got these completely centered yet. These, I believe it was, I want to say 52.4 millimeters is what I believe the final length I came up with on these is setting those up to get my belt cranks level. I think you guys can probably handle screwing some plastic ends onto the rods, so I'm not going to go over that too much. And that's pretty much all of step 6. Again, you'll have to go through and and kind of set everything up per your flybarless system. But your initials, get your horns level, adjust your linkages so that your bell cranks are level, and then at that point go into your grips and get everything at 0 degrees pitch through your top 2 control rods. But again, follow your instruction manual for your flybars. That should set you through all that. Any questions, feel free to get a hold of me. The last step of this is actually putting the motor in, which again, I don't have a motor, but it kind of walks you through the pictures. Pretty self-explanatory here. It's got a spacer block to help you set the depth of the motor so that your gear meshes right. That is in the bag with the gear, so once you put that block on the end of the mount, gear's already mounted. You run your screw in to mount your motor, pull the block out, run your other screw in, and then reinstall the motor in the motor mount in the frame. That'll get you going there. The canopy clip that bolts into the bottom of the frame is a separate piece. You've got 2 of those 3x8 screws, those what I call the plastic screws, that go up through the bottom. So you slide this over, get the holes lined up, and run those screws in. No Loctite or anything needed because they're into plastic. And that gets your canopy clip on. And you're all done at that point, guys. Oh, I apologize, I forgot one piece. Your tail control rod, which is actually back in step 5.